Welcome to the You Can't Afford Me podcast, where we skip the fluff and dive straight into the grind. Real entrepreneurs, real struggles, and the unfiltered journey behind success. Let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for joining us on another episode of the You Can't Afford Me podcast. When I say I'm excited about this interview, I am super excited. I've known this gentleman for years. We've done business together, but I've also admired him from afar in terms of what he's done in business and community development with nonprofit work and the new organization that he's currently working with. So without further ado, we got Tony on the podcast today. Tony, how you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How are you, Sam?
Awesome, man. Glad to have you here today.
I'm glad to be here.
So real quick, give everybody a quick rundown of who you are and what you do.
So I am Tony P, as many people refer to me. I'm Tony Ponsiglione, and I have just joined an organization called C12. And C12 is a peer advisory group, and there are many peer advisory groups out there, but we're a peer advisory group that's got a very different bent on things. Mm-hmm. So we work with about 4,800 executives and CEOs, business owners around the world, we work with them to help them lead their businesses in a way that is advances the kingdom in the marketplace. So contemporary business practices, but with a biblical underpinning to make sure that everything that you're doing is something that would glorify the Lord. Love it.
All right, we're going to build up to that. I want to get a little bit more of your background for people to get a full understanding of who you are. So talk to us about the start of your career. What were you doing when you first got into the workplace?
So I actually kind of stumbled into the workplace, not because I was doing things I shouldn't do at school, but because I thought I wanted to be in real estate. And so I actually studied geography and site location at the University of California. And I was working for the largest retail company in the world at the time, Safeway Stores, largest grocery retailer.
Yeah.
And the head of human resources interviewed me and said, don't have anything in real estate, but I have something in my training department. So I went to work in the training department and started off in a number of different HR positions, training, employment, affirmative action. Before DEI was called DEI, was called affirmative action. So did all those things for the largest division in the largest grocery retailer in the world. Went to work for some other retailers in human resources, got into operations. I grew up in operations, working my way through school at Safeway. Yeah. And so I worked for a number of Fortune 500 companies in a variety of different industries, worked as an executive in Europe for a British conglomerate. I can say that I used to work for the same company as Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty.
Oh, nice.
Because they actually owned EMI Records and Capitol Records.
Yeah.
And then came back to the States, moved to Richmond to work for a venture capital firm that had acquired AMF Bowling, and we tripled the value of the business. And my wife fell in love with Richmond, Virginia.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, well, it's a funny thing. We lived in 3 states in a foreign country, and this is the first place she said, "I'm not moving from." And so, having been married for 30-some-odd years at that point,
I thought, knew better than argue with that.
So I went to work for Genworth here in town, was a member of the leadership team there, and ran a division from an HR perspective. And then my run in corporate America came to an end, and I bought a business in town that you know because you've done some work with us. So was operating that business, and a friend came to me. Someone had worked with me from the finance organization at Genworth and had an ad for a peer advisory group and said, "Hey, would you ever be interested in doing this? You'd be really good at it."
Yeah.
So I started that process and was literally going to join them when I got contacted by someone in town who said, "Hey, would you mind going and talking with this national not-for-profit about what they might need to have as some help?" And so I walked into UNOS in March of 17, and I agreed to go help them for a couple of months. And 7 years later, I retired from there last summer.
Let me pause right there for a second and let people know, because I want to make sure everybody listening to this knows who UNOS is. UNOS deals with the organ transplants for the entire country.
Yes.
And it's right here in downtown Richmond. So that's not like some rinky-dink nonprofit. This is a massive organization.
Yeah, it is the United Network for Organ Sharing. Literally, when I got there, we did about 30,000 transplants a year, and 6 years later, we were doing 48,000. transplants a year. So we made a lot of improvements and advanced the system a lot. And by the time I left, I started there to help out in one department. By the time I left, I was running about a third of the organization. So I had human resources, professional education. I had communications, the organ center, patient and member relations, and the policy shop that actually sets the policies for equitable transplant, organ transplants and access to transplants across the country. So, yeah, it's an important job.
What did you study in college?
I was a geography major, which is why I wanted to get into real estate.
So all right, because that is a colorful, and we haven't even gotten to C12 yet.
Yeah.
But that is a colorful, robust career path.
Yeah.
What were from like working in the grocery store chain to working with these organizations that were making massive acquisitions? What were the skill sets and things you were picking up and learning along the way? Because from what I'm hearing from somebody who majored in geography and ended up sitting at the top of corporate America, it sounds like you learned a lot along the way and were able to develop certain skill sets.
Yeah, I am just like I stumbled into my career. I mean, once someone actually asked me to sit down with them and talk about career management, and I said, you wasted lunch, the price of the lunch that you're buying me, because I'm the idiot savant of career management. So I will say that I started off, and what I learned very early on was hang around with really smart people and learn from them. And so I was always willing to try a new project and learn something new, and it serves me well because I get to now meet interesting people and learn about their businesses.
Yep.
So starting in the human resources function, I got to learn how a lot of people did their jobs, and I got to teach people how to do those jobs. And then from there, you get into kind of almost a general management role, because you're observing people and you're helping the general managers manage their organizations. But I was never the normal, quote unquote, HR person. I've always been really interested in the numbers and really tried to understand how the business operates and what the critical pieces are. And I like puzzles, and working in businesses is always about what problem are you working on, how you fix that puzzle. And so I got to do really cool things like acquisitions, and I got to work with attorneys who taught me all those things. And so little by little over the years, I just picked up a lot of different kinds of experiences, which really helped.
And it seems like you always had an open mind and always had wide eyes in terms of like looking for something, like something may pop up in the organization, or you hear something like, hey, I wouldn't mind learning a little bit more about that. Would you mind if I sat in on that meeting? Yeah,
well, it's interesting. You get a little bit of a reputation for being interested. One of the pieces of advice I've given to people over the years is, don't worry about that next job. Worry about doing the job you're in right now exceptionally well.
Absolutely.
Create bandwidth for yourself, and then people will come up to you with opportunities. And so what would happen is people would notice, hey, you've got this licked. You really understand how to do this. You've got some extra time. Would you be interested in helping me with this project or helping me with that project? And I learned early on that making the team better was more important than kind of worrying about me.
Yep.
Because if you had that reputation of being someone that would help the team be better, and I learned that in high school playing for a great football coach, that it just made opportunities happen.
Yeah. Let's talk about, this is always fascinating. You were, I think, one of the first entrepreneurs I met. I want to talk about the car wash Splash and Dash that was owner, operator, but working another job. And that always kind of sat with me. I'm like, wait, hold up. How is this dude making money over here, got this thing running on its own? And I know you were very hands-on with it, but to be able to juggle both of those was something that I found extremely fascinating. So number one, let's start with this.
Okay.
How did you get into the car wash business? It wasn't like you, for the last 10 years, you were like, man, owning a car wash is my dream. This is something I'm meant to do. What was it that got you in that space?
Well, my lovely bride of 30 some odd years at that point, not wanting to leave Richmond, was a big part of it. And so I realized I needed to do something. I couldn't be a guy who'd sit around the house, and I did not know whether I wanted to go out and work for another company after my last corporate opportunity happened.
Yep.
And so I started looking at businesses, and I've always wanted to. early on, I was in kindergarten. I was an entrepreneur, hustling and
Selling bags of Skittles and stuff like that.
Actually selling trading cards.
Oh, nice. Which is a massive business now.
Yeah, but I didn't know. I was setting the standard back in those days. This was in the '60s.
Hey, there might be some kid right now in America that bought a trading card off of you for 10 cents that's worth $10,000 right now.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, literally, I had access to them because I had a lot of freedom as a kid, and so I'd go buy them and sell them at school. And I got accused of taking people's lunch money, but I wasn't. I was actually just, and I was small at the time.
Yeah.
I was just selling things. And so I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so I was thinking, well, I'm just going to go buy my own business and stay here in town. And so literally thought, what kind of business do I want to do? My wife's family had owned a restaurant. She knew she didn't want to be in a restaurant business.
Which, by the way, is the hardest business in the world to run.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen.
I've owned and operated a lot of businesses. The one I will never own. You will never see Sam Anderson's name attached to a restaurant. It ain't happening.
I never say never because God has a sense of humor.
Yeah,
so you better be careful.
That is true. All right, I'll take it back.
But so I was looking at businesses, and I was on a site that posts businesses for sale, and there was a car wash on the south side that was for sale, and I thought, interesting, car wash. Doesn't have a lot of this particular model is a self-service model. I thought, interesting, not a lot of staff. That could be really, as a guy who dealt with human resources issues for decades, I thought that could be really good.
Yeah.
So I started looking at these. It was three sites. I went to do the site location work, and I thought, this is not as good as the one that I normally go to. And so literally the one that we bought was one that we were customers of for years before. And I reached out to the son and I said, hey, I'm interested in buying buying your business because I knew his dad had passed away. If you're ever interested in selling, let me know.
Yeah.
He said, hey, let's get together next Tuesday. So that's what I stumbled into the business. I did due diligence. We bought the business.
You got some strong angles, man. You stumble into a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Amen. And so, I mean, I got to work. I got to learn the business. I inherited a really good staff member, and we just hit it off. And I learned a lot. And I'm always interested in tinkering and figuring things out and figuring what the puzzle was. And I knew was I had certain levers that were going to be good for me. I had a contract that was unlimited chemicals, so. At that point, I thought, I'm going to drive as much business as possible. I'm going to drive the top line, create as much reputation as possible, and then go from there. And I really wanted to be customer service oriented. And so those are the things that we do differently than everybody else, in my opinion. We give people flexibility and we give people customer service.
Love it. So talk to us about that acquisition piece. This audience is going to be really interested in how this deal came together. So number one, I always like to ask people in situations like this, were you using OPM, other people's money, or had you stashed up enough cash that you were ready to go out and purchase something?
I got an SBA loan, but I had because a car wash is a very unique business.
Yeah.
They require a 20% down payment, so I used my own money in that instance, and we borrowed against equity in the house. For part of the down payment, and then we had other money that we had stashed away, and so we used the combination of those things to get started. And over the years, it's been good. It's kicked capital to us, and we've been able to upgrade it and do a lot of other things to it. But yeah, we didn't have anybody else's money other than the bank's money the SBA's money to begin with.
Gotcha. And then in terms of like operating a car wash, so the fact that it's self-service, but you do have a detailing component of what you do. You guys do fleet, that customer service aspect that you talked about, where you guys will literally go pick up the vehicles for a business, drive them to your location to detail, take them back to them, which I think any business that's going that direction, like when I had my laundry business, I literally had a customer ask me one time, hey, this is great that you wash and fold my clothes and drop it off at my front door. How much would it cost for you to actually come in my house and hang the clothes up for me? And at first I was like, lady, you're crazy. But she looked at me, no, I'm dead serious. Like what? And I've always had this idea in my head that like, I think we'll get to a point in society, you're going to have a fair amount of strangers running through your house at one point. You think about people that hire dog walkers or grocery delivery services, laundry service, like it could be a number of different things.
And these keyless entry things now
Yeah.
are so great because you can have like 20, 30. So this is for my laundry guy. This is for my car detailer. This is for my dog walker. And when you change services, you just change that one code and everything else stays the same, as opposed to I got to change the lock and give out 18 keys.
Amazon even has a feature now where like you can do the garage thing where like now the Amazon driver has access to my house where like when they get there, there's a button that they hit in the app. My garage door opens. They put it right in there.
That's cool.
So if I'm ordering something expensive and I don't want a brand new computer sitting out on my doorstep because I'm not going to be home for a while, like they can put it right in there for me.
And I think that goes back to that puzzling thing. I just look at the world and think, what's a different way of putting this on a 90-degree slant that makes a different angle and a different use? And so the pickup service was actually born out of me having an idea that says people are busy. We'll go pick up at their office. Mm-hmm. And so I thought there'd be a big market for that, and I've just never been good at advertising. So there's one place I haven't learned as much as I should have. But we started off with picking up people's cars at their offices, mm-hmm. and we would tell them, we guarantee your car will be in the same spot when you come out at night. And they go, how can you come? I work at Capital One. How can you guarantee that? Yeah. Because we put our car in your space. I mean, it's pretty simple. But they never could figure out how we did, right? So the fleet service was born out of that idea. And so Mark Smith, who does amazing stuff in the community, saw mm-hmm. a flyer that we do because we want to have 10% of our top line go to those to not-for-profits. Yep. He saw that and he said, hey, I want to know who this guy is. And so we started talking, and now we do 70 cars for him. On a weekly basis. Nice. My wife and kids and our staff are running around picking up cars from Midas and cleaning them and bringing them back so the customers have clean cars.
Love it. Talk to us about this business model with car washes, because are you familiar with Cody Sanchez? Mm-mm. So she is my all-time favorite entrepreneur right now at this moment as we sit here.
I've heard of her now that you mentioned this. She writes books about...
Yeah. So like acquiring... Mm-hmm.
Buddy of mine loves her.
Dude, she is amazing. To me, she is Gary V 2.0.
Well, the funny thing is he says, you've been telling me these things for years, and now Cody's telling me, and I'm thinking, why didn't I listen to Tony?
Yeah. So. No, she is brilliant. But she talks about acquiring boring businesses, and like these are the areas. So like, I owned a vending machine business for one mm-hmm. point. She was preaching about that. Mm-hmm. Laundromats, she's preached about that. Mm-hmm. And car washes, mm-hmm. she often preaches about. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about what those margins look like, because I'm not going to reveal the number, but I remember one time when we were shooting the video for you, we had to go through the automatic wash. And I was like, Tony, I'm sorry, we got to do this again, man. Like, if you need me to put money in the thing to pay for it. And you were like, dog, it ain't what you think it is.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, so I inherited a sweetheart deal that was literally unlimited chemicals.
Oh, so you don't have that deal.
So back then, I had huge margin back in those days because it didn't matter how many times I washed cars. And so, but my perspective was, and my perspective still is, if the customer has a bad experience, I'm going to fix it. Yeah. And what's my cost for a car wash? It's a good margin. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, there's the chemical. And the chemical is depending on the quality of the chemical, and we buy top quality chemicals. But then there's water, and we have a recycling machine, and we recycle that water, and so we lose about 25% to drive off, and we lose another 10-15% to evaporation, but the rest of it we're recycling, and we run it through a reclaim unit, and then we run it through a reverse osmosis machine, and that way it's spotless to be able to run in your car. That adds cost when you start off the business and when you go to replace it, because those machines, I just bought a new one of those last 2 years ago. It was $90,000 for that reclaim unit, but it lasts for 15 years. And so there's a big capital expense in building a car wash, but once you have it, it's a sunk cost business.
Yeah, and I love the idea. That's what got me interested with the vending machine business. Is I was like, out of all the businesses I've owned, that was one that got me more excited simply because of this aspect, is that I would have an employee out there working for me 24/7 that would never talk back to me, would never need a sick day, never has an attitude. It's just a machine out there making money for me. And obviously you still have to employ people like on the detailing side and things like that. But for the most part, you're making cash and people can just come and get the service without you having to have someone there.
Yeah, and it's part of what I love the business as well. We self-serve and automated bays, but our automated bays don't have to have an attendant. So the tunnel washes they all close down. And so, they talk about an unlimited car wash package, but it's not unlimited. It's limited based on the times that they're open. It's limited on what kind of machine they have. Whereas ours, we have unlimited time because it's 24/7. So I actually did a spot that I was going to talk with you about. That's like me at 6 o'clock in the morning running over to Lowe's thinking, I want to go get a car wash. Oh, I can't because they're not open. Oh, but wait, Splash and Dash is open.
Yeah.
And so it's unlimited in that respect. But the other thing is we have unlimited options. So you want touch-free? We have a touch-free machine. You want brushes? We've got brushes. You want to do it yourself? We got to do it yourself. You want a high-end detail or a restoration work? We got that. So we give you everything. Oh, you don't have time for it? We'll pick it up. We'll bring it back to you. I mean, so ours is all about giving people flexibility. And the interesting thing, and back to your dry cleaning business, I tell people, hey, who are our regulars that we pick up, if you want, we'll bring you a Starbucks back because we're right next to Starbucks. You want us to fill up your tank? We'll fill up your tank. You want us to take it to Midas to get an oil change or a state inspection? We'll take you there. And so we do a lot of work with Midas. I'll come and say, hey, do you have a spot? And they'll jam me in there and we make it happen.
Love that. I've known these things about you, but now that I'm getting this refresher, I'm like, all right, I need to lift the hood up on my business and see other ways that, you can provide better service to people.
Adjacencies and tangents are always incredible in my mind. I mean, I'm doing some work with a construction, you met Scott. I'm trying to convince him that he needs to be thinking about how he can expand his business because that's how he can make a bigger impact. He is a quality guy, and he is a guy who wants to have the ultimate touch on the just the high end attention to detail. And my perspective is, okay, so if you can't find people who have that same level, can you get into an adjacency that capitalizes on your sources for product or your sources for raw materials, you get a better margins on those things because of your volume, but doesn't have to have that. So could you do deck building or fence building where you could have a crew doing that work that is an adjacency to the work that you're doing, but isn't that high end? You've got a different, it's like GM and GM has Chevy and they have GM and then they've got
Toyota's
Cadillac.
got Lexus.
Same thing.
So,
I mean, I'm always thinking like that, and that's the business model that I'm used to.
Talk to us about the giving back aspect of your business, because a lot of business owners are looking at their margins, and since I've known you and you've owned Splash and Dash, like this is one thing that you've been known for. In fact, I think that's how you were introduced to me when we were part of Synapse, and it was just like, this is the car wash guy that is always giving back. Like you literally even have it at your station when people are paying for the car wash. They can put in a code and donate a portion of what they're paying to go directly to a local nonprofit. Where did that first, and I know from a biblical and spiritual background where your heart probably is with that, but a lot of people probably look at their business and be like, man, I would love to give back to nonprofits more, but I can't afford it. How did you figure out a way to afford it?
Well, so it is all about my faith, and I was not always a believer. I mean, God has no grandchildren, and I will tell you, my parents, my dad used to believe religion was about power and control, so he was definitely not about faith. And my mom did it more from a cultural perspective. But when I started reading the Bible for myself, and I started recognizing that I'm encouraged to do those things, my wife and I made the decision that we were going to give 10% of everything at a minimum. And so, there's all kinds of ways of interpreting this, but our perspective is the top line. You don't do it off of your profit. You do it off of the
You're
top.
doing gross, not net.
Yeah. And so, so my perspective on that with the car wash was real. And I once read a book that said if you were in the Confederate States and you had $100,000 in Confederate money a year before the end of the Civil War and you knew the outcome, what would you be doing? You'd be transferring your currency into federal money as fast as you could. And I know I'm in a world that is not, I know who wins this battle, and it It isn't the powers of darkness. So I'm trying to transfer all my currency as fast as I can into heavenly currency. And that analogy came to me. I thought, oh my goodness, what am I storing this up for here? I should be doing as much as I possibly can. And there's scripture that will tell you can't outgive God, and there's a whole bunch of things. I'll do a Bible study with you on that one. But so that it was on our hearts to do that, and so we started doing that when I was working for companies, and when I got bonuses or anything, it was always top line. And so when we bought the business, it was just the next natural thing, and we wanted to model for our kids that we give first. And so like when we first started, the first weekend of every month, every cash sale, we'd empty everything out, and everything that came in as cash went to faith, went out to charities. And my kids were like, "You're crazy, Dad." But I mean, God blessed us, and He continues to do that.
So that's the point I want to hit on, which I think a lot of people have. Even if you take the religious component out of it, there is just a principle in life that when you give, stuff comes back to you. What would you say to someone who's just like, man, I'm on a tight budget, I can't make this work? I want you to talk about, because I'm sure you've seen a correlation in your life where, man, I just gave to this and I did this, and look what just happened in my life.
Before I do that, let me tell you, I have a nephew, he's an incredible guy who was a double major, finance and computer science. So he is very analytical, very numbers oriented, and he came to me one time as a young man and a newlywed, and he said, "Uncle Tony, I'm feeling a little bit convicted. I've been at church and they were talking about tithing, and I just don't know how I can give 10%." And I said, "Okay, so Jay, do me this favor. Do a calculation." And they were doing the envelope thing where they had an envelope for everything. And I said, "Okay, so do."
Must have been reading Dave Ramsey's stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I said, do your calculation and figure out what you can give. What do you think you can give every month? And he says, okay. I said, now add 10% to that amount. So if you think you can only give $100 a month, then give $110. I said, but do this, Jace. Put it in the offering plate the first week of the month, and watch what happens. So the end of the first month comes around, he goes, "Uncle Tom, I don't know how this happened. I have extra money." I said, okay, now cut the difference between that and what your 10% is in half, and put that amount in. Next month he calls me, "Uncle Tom, I don't understand this. I got extra money." I said, that's how God math works. God math doesn't make sense. God math relies on us having faith. And I get the chills a little bit when I start thinking about this, because that is how He operates. I mean, He's always, if I designed my life, I couldn't have done a better job, obviously, than what He has done to prepare me to do what I'm doing now. And the experiences, I would have never guessed I would have had the experiences I've had living in 3 states in a foreign country, getting to spend all kinds of time in Europe, going to Asia on business. Who would have ever thought I had that opportunity as a kid growing up in a factory town on the Delta between San Francisco and Sacramento? Never would have thought that.
Man, and we gotta make that a trending. You remember everybody was talking about girl math at one point. We need God math to be trending, man.
God math is way better than girl
math. That's
math.
pretty insane. Man, appreciate you sharing that story.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into what you're currently doing right now with C12. So, just to be candid, me and Tony have been talking. I've been to an informational session with his organization. I'm 1,000% recognize that I need to be part of this. And before you get into it, I'm going to tell people why.
Okay.
And this is not necessarily a sales pitch or anything, but when you are a CEO, it can be a lonesome life sometimes, because stuff will happen and I can't turn around to the people I employ here and share those things. Like, your organization would crumble apart if you shared everything with your staff members. My wife's not in business. Well, soon to be with me here pretty soon. But yeah, I can talk to her about some things and she gives me good perspective, but it's like, well, she's not in the business, so she doesn't know everything that's going on. So oftentimes, like, we just need that sounding board. We need some guidance. We need some leadership. And I think too often, entrepreneurs, we get this in our head that, like, I'm the head of the organization. I need to have all my stuff figured out. I need to have the game plan. I need to have strategy. I need to have all the answers. We're not going to have all the answers. You need to be able to collaborate, conversate, and just learn from others, because probably some of the best business advice I get from people are people that are completely outside of my industry. Like my main mentors know nothing about marketing, but every aspect of this business, they have some knowledge to give me. And walking in that room when I was there for that first session and just to hear some of the story, and it's number one, it's like, oh, I'm not the only one going through this. This is something that everybody running a business deals with. Or I hear one person sharing a story and I'm like, dude, I dealt with that 2 months ago. Here's exactly how you navigate that. And I don't care what the cost is because number one, I don't want people to think this is a free service. Like you got to pay to play. But the value that you get from it, because a single idea can be worth $1 million. So is it worth paying X amount of dollars per month to continually receive $1 million ideas? You better believe it. And also understand, I think we kind of talked about this, and I was about to open up a can of worms at that meeting. You were like, this is a different conversation. Let's not go down that route. But we talked about like private school with kids. And I was like, I've come around to a way of thinking where like, if I send my kids to private school, it is partly for them, but I'm buying into a network because the parents that are sending their kids to these best schools, now they're going to be on play dates. I'm getting introduced to this guy. Oh yeah, my dad does this or blah, blah, blah. And we're at the cookout together. Next thing you know, we're doing, but like, it just opens up doors. So one thing I learned that it took way too long as an entrepreneur to learn is you need to pay to be in certain rooms. Like there are conferences that you can go to where you can get the digital package that's like a quarter of the cost to be there live. But if you go to that conference in person, you're going to get 20 times the value being there in person than you will get sitting at your computer in your underwear, eating popcorn, and listening to these talks by yourself. So as we get into that, number one, also understanding that, and again, I don't want to separate this. We're going to bring it back together, but people need to understand like the biblical principles that are in the Bible that involve business, finances, things like that. These are universal truths. So whether you're a Christian or believer or not, you can't deny that these principles work. So yes, there is a faith-based piece to this, but the principles that we're going through, the things we're learning, the teachings that we have there, these are universal things. I don't care if you're an atheist, you can take the education from this and be able to apply it to your business.
Yeah, I started telling people, because people ask me questions, and over the years working Fortune 500 companies, I couldn't always be as overt about my faith.
Yeah.
I got in trouble.
Especially being in HR, you can't be doing that.
A lot of times I had people say, you can't be whatever. And I'd say, actually I can. I know what I can do. And so, but this is eternal wisdom. This is not wisdom from some fly by night, some flash in the pan, some fed. And oh, by the way, most of the people who are really successful, folks who are coaches, they're using that same content.
Yeah,
they may not know it.
Formulated it a different way, is packaged differently.
They may not know it. I mean, Dave Ramsey, what is he teaching? He's teaching biblical concepts. Mm-hmm. It's the same stuff but there are guys and ladies who are doing that work that are not believers. Yeah. But they're still doing the same concepts because it's wisdom. Yeah. It is eternal wisdom. And so I just like to be able to, for the first time, instead of writing on my whiteboard a scripture without an address on it, I can actually point to that scripture and say what it's about, and we can talk about it and what the concepts are behind it. And that's the beauty of it from my perspective. Yeah. And I just think relationships are really critical. Like you said, going off and doing a conference and listening to it. The content is great, and you should ruminate in it. I think it's like putting a tea bag in a container of hot water. I always buy the tapes. I load them on my old 2009 pickup truck because it has a disc that has a lot of capacity on it, and I listen to them over and over and over again because I want to really catch all the nuances. But the power is in the relationships, and the power is in the people that you get to meet and the things that you get to do with them and the relationships you create with them and the support you get from them. And I think that's getting lost in our society. Absolutely. Our society thinks, hey, I can do this online, I can do this remote, but there is power in the relationships. And again, it's eternal wisdom. And my mom, the little Asian immigrant woman, used to say, be careful who you spend your time with, right? And she was right. Yep. Who I spend my time with, the peers that I work with, that's what this is about. That's what C12 is about. C12 is about, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's the collective of the group. It's all the content and all the information that we have as a group. But on top of that, it's everybody in the network, 4,800 people around the globe. And so if you're working with media firms, you don't just talk with the media folks that are local to here that you could potentially connect with. You could reach out to other media firms that we have in the network or around the globe. And there's power. And then every other year we have a conference where in April, not last month, but the month before that, we had 1,800 people in a conference in Dallas. It's the largest conference of Bible-believing business owners who are really committed to doing great work and glorifying God in that work, the quality of that work, and making an impact in the world. And I'm going to use I shared with you at that meeting a video of a gal who Yale educated business. Her parents made incredible sacrifices coming to this country as an immigrant to get her to go to Yale. Her husband was a boat person. She went to that conference in 2023. They had one skin cancer clinic in Colorado Springs. They were treating a small group of people. And as a result of being at that conference, in 2 years, they've gone to 9 of these clinics. They now treat tens of thousands of people. Why? Because they want to make an impact in their community and in the world. And they are giving and supporting so many efforts around the world for people who, her passion is for the things that make God cry are the things she wants to address. And they're an amazing couple. I just think those are all the reasons. You actually did a heck of an ad for me. I didn't have to. But what we hear from so every year, because our members are really important. In fact, I'm going to send you, I'll give you a link at the end of the day. We do a survey this month. And this month it's about what are the things that we're doing well? What are the things that are keeping you up at night? What are the things that we're not doing well that you want us to fix and make better? But what are the things that are keeping you up at night as a business person? And that becomes the content for next year, which is what's different about how we do this. One thing is it's biblically based. The other one is that it's all based off of what's keeping you guys up at night and ladies.
Yep.
It's not some pointed head in San Antonio thinking, oh, this is what we should be teaching people. This is what you all tell us you want as content. Every other peer group out there, some of them, the ones that do offer a curriculum, offer 6 months worth of curriculum. We do 12 months worth. And it's curriculum that is accredited for continuing ed or for college credits. So you could actually use it towards a degree program. Nobody else has that. Nobody else does it 12 months out of the year. And nobody else has it biblically based and has the underpinnings. And you get together as a group, you go through that content, you talk about how it applies, you have a network, you have relationship, you have support. It is not about advancing your business with those other people around the table. That might happen, but it is not specifically about soliciting people. And so it's just, it is something that is completely unique and nobody else does it. And I feel just so excited about the fact that it has such potential to make an impact in Richmond.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I need people to understand, again, this is why I feel like, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years, but I feel like this last year I've learned more as an entrepreneur than I have the first 9. I almost feel like I'm starting over, but I'm starting over with more knowledge and a base, but I feel like I'm really just getting started. I can see the next 20 years ahead of me now, because when you're super hyper focused on just one thing in your life, and in this scenario talking about business, and you neglect all the other pieces, your physical health, your spiritual health, your finances, all these different things, nothing ever feels right. It's always going to be chaotic, and whatever it is that you're working on is never truly going to reach the pinnacle of what it could be, because all these other areas of your life are kind of falling apart. I remember early on in my career, even before becoming an entrepreneur, I would see a guy that had $10 million in the bank, and I'm like, I want to be that guy. And then I sat down and talked to him. 200 pounds overweight, been divorced twice. His kids don't talk to him. He's got a bad relationship with. I don't want that kind of success. I want the spiritual health. I want to have healthy relationships. I want to have a healthy body. I want to have healthy finances. I want to have a healthy bit, all these different things. And when you break that down to someone, doesn't that sound like an amazing life? Yeah. To have great relationships, to have a growing, flourishing business, to have a great spiritual life. once you combine all those things together, that's truly success to me. And what you're doing, what C12 is doing, I'm with it, because it's too many entrepreneurs and CEOs are out there without the other pieces. Because I felt for a long time like, man, what am I doing wrong? Like, I know this is right. I know this is the game plan. I know this is strategy. Oh, but like, I haven't been in the gym in 2.5 months. Like, my physical body is just breaking down on me, and I'm not thinking at the level that I should be because I'm not taking care of this vessel. Oh, haven't been to church in a couple of years. I haven't opened up my Bible. Like, I'm not putting the right principles and thoughts into my head. Because when the tough times do come, it's not if they'll come, it's when they come. Like, you and I have personally talked. I've been dealing with some stuff in the business this past week. And ordinarily I get in the car, I'm listening to a podcast or an audiobook. And for the last 2 days, I was like, man, I just need some old school gospel playing it. Like, I need the word, like, in this capacity, because that type of music and that ministering to me is like, let me know, like, bro, you're not by yourself. Like, there's somebody up here, much higher power, that's taking care of things and like putting things in order. And then as this is the situation I was dealing with, as this is kind of evolved, I was able to clearly talk to a few people and immediately figure out how to adjust. And I couldn't be more excited about what's to come. Yeah. So the work that you're doing, like, is so amazing on another level. Like, I think this is not just going to truly affect business here in Richmond and people's lives, but what you guys are doing across the country. So last question I have for you before we finish up is, I just recently started asking this question in every podcast. Tell us about your lowest moment as an entrepreneur and how you were able to come out of that.
I'll tell you, I'd rather talk about my lowest moment in the business world.
Yep.
So I grew up with, my mom invented the concept of a tiger mom. Mm-hmm. And my mom was, my mom's, taught us to be on a seek and destroy mission, right? Every room you walked into, who's the competition? How can you beat them? How you be the best that you could potentially be?
Yep.
It's an interesting thing, because that's how I operated in work. At work, it was always about me demonstrating that I was better, faster, stronger, smarter than everybody else in the room. And I had the good fortune of playing for a high school football coach who was like, it's not about you, it's about the team.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you a real quick story. He after my years there, we weren't that good when he first started, but we were the number 1 rated team in the state of California. When my nephew was there, they were playing the number 2 rated team in California, and the best player, a guy who played in the NFL by the name of Amani Toomer, broke a team rule, and he didn't sit Amani for a quarter or for a half. He sat him for the entire game. And they were able to overcome the fact that Amani wasn't on the field and beat that other team by 3 touchdowns. So I learned early on from him, the team is always more important, but at the same time I was getting all this. I mean, I grew up with seek and destroy, always be the best.
Yeah.
And I was always about making the team better, but I was always about making myself look better than everybody else on the team. Mm-hmm. And in my mid-20s, I was at work, and I offended a very senior member of an organization. And they were out to get me, and they were going to fire me. And nobody on the team rallied including my boss, rallied to my support. And I recognized at that point, in my mid-20s, I have got to learn to make the team better and not worry about me. And so that piece I told you about earlier, that was my lowest moment. I was afraid I was going to lose my job, get fired from a job that I really needed and wanted. We had just had twins. Mm-hmm. My wife had decided to stay home with the twins. We were living in the San Francisco Bay Area. I mean, we couldn't afford to live on my salary, much less not having my salary.
Yeah.
And God, exposed for me the importance of the team. Mm-hmm. And I look at it and I think all those things, back to your point about, we're going to face challenges, all those things that were trials and tribulations through the course of our career, they made us better.
Absolutely.
They made us stronger. What the enemy might think of as something that's going to undermine us is actually something that God's going to use for our good. Romans 8:28, right? And so that any of those bad moments, I made so many stupid mistakes over the years. I'm
That reminds me of a quote from Bruce Almighty. Morgan Freeman's character was playing God in that movie.
Yeah.
Was sitting at the bar with Jim Carrey's wife in the movie, and she was wanting patience in her life and love and all these different things. And he looked at her and said, "Do you think when you pray for patience, God just snaps his fingers and gives you patience, or does he give you the opportunity to be patient? Mm-hmm. You want to be disciplined. Do you think God just snaps his finger and make you disciplined, or does he give you the opportunity to develop discipline?" And that is a line in the movie that I will never forget, because when you're going through those difficult times, I've recognized, it probably took me until my mid-30s to get this, but like when you're going through these things, you're being prepared for something bigger. Because I think of where I am today. Me 8 years ago, there's no way in the world I could handle what's going on right now. Yeah. Like, I would have had a mental health breakdown. Like, I would have had to check into like, there's no way I would have gotten through this. But because of the trials that I've gone through, it's like when something comes up, bro, that ain't no thing. Like,
that's right.
We know how to fix that.
That's right.
All right, let's do this. Let's keep it moving.
And the other thing I think is back 8 years ago, you probably would have been a little, I know when I was younger, I was arrogant enough to think I could fix everything.
Oh, yeah.
And now, knowing that I have a network of people I can go to, I can ask people for questions, I can look to the scriptures, I can look to it, get advice. That is freeing, because I don't have to be.
You don't have
stuff,
to be the guy,
right?
yeah.
And the world lives on social media, and everybody's life seems so perfect.
Yep.
And it's just not.
Yeah, people only showing the best of the best. Like that's their highlight reel. I think I actually saw something the other day that said like couples that post X amount of times per week on social media are actually the unhappiest people in the world. Like, because they're just trying to portray this image of blah blah blah, and then next thing I know, I'm getting online, and I'm like, hold up, why is her husband not in any of these pictures anymore? Oh, okay. Yeah. Man, Tony, this has been awesome. This could have been a 2-hour long episode with stuff we could talk about. I want you to direct people, tell if they want to learn about C12. Don't forget about Splash and Dash. If they want to come to the best car wash in town, where can they go? Shout out that information for us.
So Splash and Dash will make you fall in love with your car all over again. And we're at the corner of Gaskins and Malin, right next to the Starbucks. And we have a website, Splash and Dash RVA. And then C12, there's a number of different ways for you to look us up on that. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn, and you can look me up. There's Join C12 is the .com is for headquarters. There's C12 Mid-Atlantic is the website for this region, and you can get me through that. I'd love to just meet with as many business people who are interested in and having a network.
I will say this, at the very least, if you're in the Richmond area and you're interested in this business, it's free to meet with Tony and just have a conversation. And you'll walk, even if you decide this isn't something for you, you'll walk away a better person just having that conversation with Tony and getting some insight there. So, Tony, appreciate you being here, brother. Appreciate you being a part of my life and all the stewardship and tutelage that you give me and things you've helped me through. Greatly appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys on the next episode.